It is Sunday, 31st of July, 2022. In this delivery of This and That and What a Fuck, I will talk about energy again. And you must excuse me if I talk too much about it, but the reality is that the energy crisis in Europe is going to unleash unforeseen things on the citizens of Europe specifically. And no matter where you stay in this world, you cannot just sit and shrug your shoulders at the horrific things that can go wrong in Europe. But we must never forget, you can blame it all on the leadership of that country. It is they, not the country, that union. That leadership in Brussels is totally connected from the population that walks the streets of the various cities in that union. That leadership has systematically taken more and more and more and more rights away from the citizens, and they have amassed that in their ivory tower. And the thing that makes me sick if I look at the things that's happening in Europe is the fact that those people in Brussels has never been elected. It's non-elected officials. They are being seconded there by parliaments or politicians in the various different countries. And I'm going to say it again. The Europeans, the Eastern European nations, they better wake up. Old Europe. And in old Europe, I'm going to count Germany, France, Italy, the Netherlands. They had not so healthy intentions by dragging the Eastern European countries into the EU. It's always been in the back of their minds to set up pressure points with which they could agitate Russia. And I'm looking at what is happening in the Balkans currently. First we had that absolute idiocy about Kaliningrad, and Lithuania, all of a sudden, from somewhere they got some false bravado that they can challenge Russia. And now I see there are more of those countries there that are trying to be tough. The fact of the matter is that Balkan countries only exist as independent entities because Russia allowed them to be independent. But let's forget about that. Let's start off with something that Nehammer from Austria said. Sanctions must hit those against whom they are directed more, but not harm those who decide them. Well, that's quite a mouthful. And it seems to me that there are some sparks of sanity managing to creep through under the doors and into the darkness of that idiocy. He continues, Austria's position is that an embargo on gas is impossible. Not only because Austria depends on Russian gas, the German industry also depends on it. And if it collapses, the Austrian industry will also collapse, and we will face mass unemployment, Nehammer said, as cited by Lenta.ru. Now, yes, that is now wise words, but I'm afraid it's a bit late in the day. They allowed Brussels to decide to embargo Russian gas, and they voted for all those sanction packages. The only country that visually resisted many of the sanctions was Hungary under Viktor Orban. And if you look around on the various news feeds and so, you will see that Hungary is under a lot of pressure currently because it resists Brussels. And then here is something to take note of. It's nothing to do with energy. Russia, Ethiopia making progress on switching settlements to national currencies, Ambassador in Addis Ababa says. Now this is an important thing to take note of. There is lots of snippets of information around this type of activity that is surfacing. And what you must just never forget, everywhere around the rest of the world, and I'm going to show you that map again just to refresh your memory and remind you of the realities of 2022. everywhere in that countries that are not yellow, there are moves on the go to break away from the single dollar currency for international trade. And it is going to happen. It will not happen overnight. But the first steps is already there. Russia is opening up facilities to make it possible for countries, friendly countries, to trade with Russia in currencies that suits them, not the dollar or the euro. And mark my words, the American economy is going to feel this at some stage. And when they start to feel it, when the people in America start to feel it, it's going to be too late. Back to energy. Germany considering extending nuclear power plant operation. In the current situation, I'm open to continuing the use of nuclear energy. There should be no shortage of electricity, the head of the German finance ministry said amid ongoing energy crisis. Yeah, back to nuclear. But they allowed these green maniacs to dictate what to do with energy. And now, all this investment in alternative energy is proven to have been a waste of money and a waste of time. But the most important thing is this: they took actions that crippled the traditional energy sources, and now they are paying for it, and they are falling back to nuclear energy, which is the logical option, but also they are restarting the coal fire plants. And I'm not going to dwell on that point, because I believe firmly stupid people must suffer. And here's just an interesting little thing to think, and something to take in consideration when these greenies blow their trumpets. Wow, look at that clean energy. This is a windmill on fire, and it doesn't look healthy, and it doesn't look insignificant. And imagine how many of those windmills are there in Europe today. And if this is the end of their lives, I think you need to reconsider your affinity for windmills. And here is something from Viktor Orban on the plan of limiting the usage of energy and rationing the energy and so forth. Our people don't like that kind of thing, Orban said on Thursday, referring to the EU plan. If Brussels has a say in what to do with our energy, regardless of Brussels' good intentions or bad intentions, it will not find favor with the Hungarians. And that is a lot of truth. But if I look at things objectively, I may start to lean towards the reality that a little bit late in the day to wake up. And he continues, the fact that Brussels is already implementing energy rationing suggests that Europe is moving towards a wartime economy, Orban said, adding that unless peace is reached in the Ukraine, we will not be able to solve any problems. There will be no energy, and the entire European Union will be pushed into an economic situation of war. The Hungarian premier noted that an energy crisis would also lead to a recession and political instability across Europe. Why doesn't the people of Europe listen when Viktor Orban talks? It's exactly the same story with when Putin talks. The collective West and this World Economic Front, New World Order cabal have made a decision to blanket out any opposition to their narrative. And I'm sorry to say, the people will pay for this. Not these politicians, the people will pay for this. And then here was an image. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can read it for yourself. This could actually be a what the fuck. But the fact is, I saw this post on Twitter, and then I posted it with a heading, and it was in Afrikaans. But what I said is, what is the most obvious thing in this photo? Okay, I was a little bit devious when I did that. And then the responses started coming in. I'm not going to show the responses, and I let them go. And then late that evening, I responded and said, wrong. There's only one woman in that picture. You can just deduct for yourself what was most of the responses. I just laughed. And then there is a piece, I'm not going to read the whole thing, you can pause and read it, but I have spoken about this. Poland as the next Ukraine. While Western propaganda continues insisting Ukraine will prevail against Russian military operations, the front line is quietly being moved to the Western Ukraine and even Poland. The possibility of a Syria-style buffer zone operation being launched from Poland, Romania, or both into Western Ukraine remains a possibility. And I have spoken about this in a previous Skidmark. The Polish people better wake up. That president of theirs has got a personal problem with Russia, which has got nothing to do with Poland. And he is not looking out for Poland. He is being driven by his own personal problem with Russia. And I have mentioned it previously. When you are elected as a president of a country, that country becomes your most important point to focus on. Your personal feelings and personal views must be kept in your cupboards, in your room, because your personal things will not always be the best for your country. And we're back with the energy. Russian energy major Gazprom will stop the operation of a second Siemens turbine, the company announced on Monday. As a result, supply through the Nord Stream 1 pipeline will not exceed 33 million cubic meters per day from July 27, Business Day Daily Commerçant has reported, corresponding to the 20% of the pipeline's capacity. Gazprom says the decision to switch off the turbine was made based on a technical condition and the fact that it is due for an overhaul. Now, there has been a lot of discussions around this, and there are people that are saying the Russians are quietly putting the screws onto Europe. It may be true, it may be false. Who would know? The fact of the matter is, none of this would have happened if the EC in Brussels with Ursula von der Crazy at the helm didn't embark on that sanction madness. According to an earlier report by Commerçant, several of the 9 turbines at the Portovaya compressor station are in need of repair. The paper notes that Gazprom has not yet authorized further repairs and that one turbine took about 3 months to overhaul. The current licensing agreement allows Siemens Energy to accept 5 more turbines for repair before the end of 2024. According to Bloomberg energy expert Javier Blas, with Nord Stream 1 flowing at only 20% of capacity from July 27, Germany will not have enough natural gas to make it throughout the winter. Unless big demand reductions are implemented, Berlin will need to activate stage 3 of its gas emergency program. Well, I live in a country that is currently plagued by stages of energy lockouts, blackouts, brownouts, whatever you want to call it. Here we have got this beautiful name, load shedding. It is absolutely crazy. And I am asking again, where did Brussels get the power and authority from to implement things like this? They have been emboldened by what happened during the pestilence. And all of a sudden, they tasted the sweet taste of authoritarian power. And trust me, they are not going to let it go. The people of this world will have to take their power back. They're not going to get it back. And then there's this heading, Putin turns the screws. Gazprom unexpectedly halts another Nord Stream turbine, cutting flows in half. European gas prices soar. Blame it on Putin, blame it on whatever, blame it on ingrown toenails. Doesn't matter where you put the blame. The fact is, the Europeans are going to run out of gas. And then this little snippet, that was after the sighs of relief when that Siemens turbine was eventually delivered. Alas, Europe's muted celebration were not meant to last, and with many speculating that Russia was just waiting for the right opportunity to turn the screws on Germany, both literally and metaphorically, that's precisely what happened moments ago, when shortly after Siemens finally delivered transport documents for the controversial Nord Stream turbine that had been stuck in Canada for weeks, Gazprom unexpectedly announced it would halt one more Nord Stream turbine in its Portovaya compressor station from July 27, taking into account the technical conditions of the engine, the Russian company says in a statement. Who can blame them? The Europeans had the luxury of decades of cheap, reliable gas. And what did they do? They listened to America, and that Trump speech about Germany being stupid to be so dependent on Russian gas. That was the most idiotic thing that man has said, in my opinion. How the hell must the European economy grow to provide for a growing population and not get energy from neighbors? The big thorn in the American side was the fact that Europeans got their natural gas from Russia, because we all know there's only one thing in the American mind. We want to fight Russia. We want to fight Russia. Those people, they are going to pay for this idiocy. Oh yeah, there's a chorus now apparently coming in on the background. We want to fight China. I'm going to laugh about all this cuck that's going to hit the fan. That's all I'm going to say. US officials say, biggest fear has come true as Russia cuts gas supplies to Europe. Too late to cry, Ursula von der Crazy. You wanted it this way. I think it's a little bit, I don't even have the right word for Americans to post something like that. They were the big guys that instigated and prodded and pushed the Germans not implement Nord Stream 2. And now, Europe is in the shit, and the Americans sit far away from them, safe on their little continent, and with enough energy to serve themselves, and they watch. I am sure there's some of those American newcons that sits at night around a bar and they just laugh and say, can you believe how stupid that Europeans really are? I think we can tell them anything to do and they will do it. I mean, look, they were willing to commit economical suicide on our suggestions. What can we try with them next? There must be something else that we can do to them. How's about we start pushing on the fertilizer and see how they starve to death? Guys, people need to wake up. And then there's here, this is just a post that I saw, and it's one of those things that you need to read and think about it, and then read it again and think some more. Modern Russia is capitalist, but it is not imperialist. Unlike the United States, Russia's economy is based on natural resources rather than on military domination of the entire planet to fuel the profit of a financial elite. Russia is fighting against Western imperialism. For me, a guy with a strong philosophical line running through my genes, this is the reality. This is the reason for what is happening in Ukraine. And then we come to that moment. What a fuck. Now this one says a lot about what is happening in America and in the world. Exclusive ship of fools. 62% of Biden officials who handle economic policy have 0 years business experience per report. Guys, what a fuck. How can you have people in charge of your economy with 0 years business experience? An economy the size of America, and that economy is managed and steered by fools. And I've seen some photographs of some of them. The alphabet tribe is running strong in that Whitehouse, which I call a shithouse. And I cannot understand how ordinary Americans, let's say the cowboys of the plains of America, allowed these mentally disturbed, morally corrupt idiots to take total control of their lives. I have to end with, what the fuck is that? Well, it is Sunday, and on a Sunday we also braai. We will braai every day if we can. But before we braai, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and share the thing. Thank you for listening to me.